What if I told you that the strongest response isn't words, but silence? That the moment you stop explaining, stop justifying, stop reacting, the person who expected you to beg is suddenly caught off guard. They thought you'd plead. They thought you'd crack under the weight of emotion. But instead, you did something they never saw coming. You disappeared. And now, your silence is louder than any argument, louder than any desperate attempt to fix what's already broken. Most people collapse under heartbreak. They send long messages, trying to make sense of what went wrong, searching for closure that will never come. They beg for answers. They remind the other person of the good times, thinking that nostalgia might bring them back. But all this does is confirm one thing: you're still emotionally available. And in the game of power, in the game of attraction, emotional availability to someone who has already left is weakness. The person who walks away first, who holds their ground, controls the narrative. And yet, so many fail to realize this. But you are about to be different. You are about to shift from desperation to control, from weakness to power. You won't chase. You won't plead for explanations. Because the truth is, you don't need them. A person who knows their worth doesn't waste time convincing someone else of it. A person who understands their value doesn't need to prove it through words. They prove it through their absence. When you stop feeding their ego, when you no longer give them the reaction they expected, that's when they start to feel it. The silence becomes deafening. Understand this. Your greatest power lies in your ability to walk away and mean it. The moment you stop giving them the attention they took for granted, they will feel the void. They will notice the absence. And as the days pass, as your name no longer appears on their phone, as they see you moving forward without hesitation, doubt will creep in. Did I make the right choice? Why aren't they fighting for me? Did they ever really care? That doubt is more powerful than any words you could ever say. Because once someone starts questioning their decision, they start seeing things differently. And that shift in perspective is everything. But this isn't just about making them regret their choice. This is about you stepping into your strength. This is about self-respect. This is about growth. This is about becoming someone so solid, so unshaken, so internally powerful that the world moves around them, not the other way around. They expected you to break. They expected you to wait. But what they never saw coming was your silence. And now, it's breaking them. Now, here's the question. Are you strong enough to hold the silence? Are you powerful enough to choose yourself over seeking validation? Because those who can master this, those who can resist the urge to beg, chase, or explain, they don't just win in relationships, they win in life. If you're ready to step into that power, if you're done letting people control your emotions, make this the moment you change everything. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notifications so you never miss another lesson on strength, self-respect, and power. And most importantly, drop a comment below with the words, "I am unshakable." Write it, own it, feel it, because the moment you believe it, the world will have no choice but to believe it too. 1. Gone without a trace. And that's where the power is. Silence is the ultimate power move. They expected anger, sadness, maybe even desperation. They thought you'd react, that you'd lash out, that you'd beg for another chance. But instead, you gave them nothing. And that nothing, it's driving them insane. Here's the raw truth. People don't value what they don't fear losing. As long as they know you're there, lingering in the background, waiting for them to change their mind, they have no reason to miss you. No reason to question their decision. No reason to feel the absence of you. But the moment you disappear, the second you remove yourself from their reach, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not predictable, you're not easily available, and the human mind, it craves what it can't have. Disappearing isn't weakness, it isn't surrender, it's the strongest move you can make. It forces them to sit with their own choices, to feel the weight of what they let go of. They assumed you'd chase, but instead you did something far more unsettling. You proved that you don't need them. And let me tell you, nothing is more terrifying than realizing the person you thought would wait for you is already gone. And here's where doubt creeps in. They start wondering, did I make a mistake? Did I take them for granted? They start replaying every moment, every conversation, every choice that led to this silence. It haunts them. The things they overlooked, the moments they dismissed, the certainty they had, it all starts cracking. Because now, for the first time, they're facing the one thing they never expected, the possibility that you were the prize, and they were the one who lost. But let's be clear, this only works if you mean it. If your silence is just a trick, just a waiting game, you've already lost. Power doesn't come from pretending to let go. Power comes from truly releasing, from understanding that your worth doesn't shrink just because they failed to see it, from realizing that walking away isn't about making them regret their choice. It's about ensuring you never lower yourself for someone who didn't value you in the first place. Think about the strongest forces in nature. The sun doesn't beg people to appreciate its warmth. The ocean doesn't plead for anyone to admire its depth. They exist in their power, untouched by whether someone sees their worth or not. You must be the same. Let them feel your absence, not because you want them to chase you, but because your energy, your time, your peace, these are things you will never beg for someone to value. Disappearing isn't about playing mind games. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that refuses to be an option for someone who treated you like one. Because the moment you stop knocking on a closed door, you realize something. There's an entire world beyond it. A world where you are not waiting for someone to change their mind. A world where you are no longer measuring your worth by someone else's ability to recognize it. A world where you're moving forward while they are left looking back, wondering how they ever let you go. They thought you'd beg, they thought you'd break, but now your silence is breaking them. 2. Master the game by mastering yourself. Some things in life are within your control, others are not. The moment you understand this, the moment you truly accept it, you become untouchable. They made their choice. They walked away. Now you have 2 options. Waste your energy trying to change what's already done, or channel that energy into something that actually serves you. The weak obsess over what they can't control. The strong focus on what they can. That is the difference. That is the divide. A storm does not ask the sky to clear up. A river does not beg the rocks to move. The storm rages forward, the river carves its own path, and neither wastes time resisting what is beyond their control. You must be the same. You cannot dictate how they feel. You cannot change their decision, but you can control how you respond. You can control how you carry yourself. And most importantly, you can control the kind of person you become after this. That is where your power lies. That is what separates those who crumble from those who rise. So stop overanalyzing. Stop replaying every conversation, every message, every little moment, searching for some hidden answer. It doesn't matter. The moment they chose to walk away, the outcome left your hands. And now, your only job is to take full control of the one thing that has always been yours, yourself, your mindset, your growth, your peace. Every second you spend dwelling on the past is a second stolen from your future. Every thought wasted on what could have been is energy that should be spent on building what will be. And that's the cold, hard truth. Ask yourself this: who do you want to be in 6 months? In a year? Do you want to be the person still stuck in this moment, still clinging to something that is already gone? Or do you want to be the person who used this pain to evolve, to elevate, to build a life so powerful that looking back isn't even an option? Because make no mistake, the man who masters his emotions masters his life. And that, my friend, is what separates the weak from the strong. And here's the irony. When you stop trying to control the outcome, when you truly let go, that is when the power shifts. That is when they start to notice. Because they expected you to fight. They expected you to cling to the past. But you did something far more powerful. You moved forward without hesitation. And that is something they never prepared for. They thought you'd wait. They thought you'd break. But instead, you chose yourself. 3. Untouched, unbothered, unstoppable. Nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer have control over your emotions. That is the true power of indifference. It removes the grip they once had on you. They expected you to care, to watch from a distance, to wait for a sign, to still be affected by their absence. But now, when they look at you, they see nothing, no reaction, no desperation, no trace of the person they once thought they had wrapped around their finger. And that is what drives them insane. Understand this. Emotions create attachment. Every time you react, whether in anger, sadness, or frustration, you're still showing that you care. And as long as they know they still affect you, they have nothing to miss. But when you detach, when you become indifferent, suddenly the roles reverse. Suddenly, they are the one wondering, did they ever really care? Have they already moved on? Was I never as important as I thought? That uncertainty eats away at them. Indifference forces them to sit with their own emotions because yours are no longer available to feed off of. And that silence, that emptiness, it forces reflection, it forces doubt, it forces them to feel the weight of losing someone who refuses to look back. And here's the real kicker. When they start to feel that control slipping, they will test you. They might post something to get your attention. They might send a random message just to see if you'll bite. It's not because they suddenly care, it's because they want to know if you still do. And the person who understands their worth, they don't fall for it. They don't react. They don't break. Because true indifference isn't an act. It's not pretending. It's knowing that you don't need their validation, that their absence didn't break you, it freed you. And when you embody that energy, people feel it. They feel it. And the moment they realize they lost someone who no longer cares, that is when regret begins. They thought you'd react. They thought you'd fight. But your indifference, it's haunting them. 4. Gone for good, the point of no return. When they first notice your absence, it might seem like nothing more than a brief pause, a momentary retreat to gather your thoughts, a time to heal. They assume you're merely giving space, perhaps tending to wounds unseen, waiting for the right moment to reappear. But as days melt into weeks and weeks fade into months, a stark realization dawns. You are truly gone. It hits them hard, like a freight train barreling into a quiet station. And suddenly, regret begins its slow, insidious crawl. They start to wonder, did I just lose someone who genuinely mattered? At first, they might cling to the idea that you're still just out of sight, orbiting around them like a familiar satellite. They convince themselves that your absence is temporary, a lull in an otherwise constant connection. They believed that you would always remain within reach, a safety net to fall back on, a presence that could be counted on in times of need. But the truth is far more definitive. You have sealed your fate, closing the door on any possibility of return. This isn't a temporary withdrawal. It's a complete and final departure. Imagine a lighthouse that suddenly goes dark in the midst of a turbulent storm. For a while, ships might navigate by the faint glow of distant stars, clinging to hope. But as the beacon remains extinguished, panic sets in, and the realization strikes. They are lost without that guiding light. Your absence is much like that. A guiding presence that once offered comfort is now extinguished, leaving them to drift in an ocean of uncertainty and regret. They begin to question every moment they once took for granted. Was I really that insignificant? Did I assume you'd always be just a message away? There's a strange, almost poetic cruelty in this process. The human mind has an uncanny ability to romanticize what once was, to color memories with hues of longing and nostalgia. Suddenly, every shared laugh, every silent understanding, every fleeting touch is magnified into a testament of what you once represented. They start to see your smile, the warmth of your words, and the silent promises in your eyes as treasures they can no longer possess. And that absence, the echo of your silence, shouts louder than any declaration ever could. Most people by nature make themselves available. They leave a door open, even if just a crack, inviting hope and vulnerability. They respond to every check-in, every attempt at contact, even if it's as subtle as a half-hearted text. But you have chosen a different path. You have opted to close that door entirely, not out of anger or spite, but as an affirmation of your self-worth. When they finally look over their shoulder and see that you're no longer in their world, the reality crashes down like a tidal wave. The comfort of your presence, once so easily taken for granted, becomes a haunting memory. Questions start to multiply in their minds, each one a dagger of regret. Did I ever truly matter? Was I foolish to think you'd always be here? Why did I assume you'd wait around? These questions, like relentless echoes in an empty hall, amplify the void you left behind. And as the silence grows louder, it forces them to confront the painful truth. You are not coming back. The void you left isn't an invitation to reconnect. It's a declaration that you've moved on permanently. In that moment of clarity, when the finality of your departure sinks in, they begin to see that what they once had is now nothing more than a relic of the past. It is as if you were a rare, precious book in their personal library, one they believed they could read over and over, only to discover when they reach for it again that the pages have been permanently sealed shut. The realization that you are gone for good is both a revelation and a reckoning. It forces them to acknowledge that the option they once clung to, the hope they nurtured, was never as solid as they imagined. And here lies the ultimate power of your departure. It isn't about making them chase you or beg for your return. It's about affirming that your worth isn't determined by someone else's inability to hold on. It's about showing that moving forward isn't a loss, but a triumph. You are not the backup plan. You are the headline. You chose yourself, and in doing so, you rewrote the narrative. Your silence speaks volumes. It tells the world that you're done waiting, done compromising, and done letting your future be defined by someone who couldn't appreciate your true value. If you're ready to embrace that power, if you're done letting the past dictate your future, then this is your moment. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, Turn on notifications so you never miss another lesson in resilience and self-worth. And as a final affirmation of your journey, drop a comment below with the words, "The past does not define me. I move forward." Embrace this truth and let it fuel your relentless pursuit of a life defined not by what you lost, but by what you've become. 5. Quietly transformed. They assumed you were simply taking time to heal, a brief retreat to mend a broken spirit, a pause before inevitable collapse. They expected that with every passing day, the weight of heartbreak would eventually crack you open, that one day you'd reach out with a desperate "I miss you" text, as if that were the only proof of your lingering pain. Instead, you chose a different path. You slipped quietly into the shadows, emerging on the other side as someone entirely unrecognizable. While they were busy assuming you were drowning in sorrow, you were busy building a new foundation. You took every ounce of pain and forged it into raw fuel for growth. You transformed the silence into laser-like focus. You didn't just move on, you leveled up. They might ask themselves, "What did I do wrong? Did I fail to see your struggle?" Yet the truth is, you never broke under the weight of that loss. In fact, you used it as a catalyst to evolve into a version of yourself that transcends what they once knew. Imagine a blacksmith at work. Every strike of the hammer against the anvil molds the metal into a sharper, more resilient tool. You were that metal, and the hardships were the blows that refined you. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, your transformation wasn't about proving a point to anyone. It was about honoring the immense potential that lay dormant within you. Consider this. Most people expect a breakup to shatter someone's spirit, to leave them frozen in time, clinging to the identity they had when things were good. They anticipate that the person left behind will be trapped in a cycle of longing and despair, unable to move forward because the past is too potent a magnet. But you defied that expectation. The moment you decided to focus on your mental, physical, financial, and emotional growth, you shifted the entire dynamic. Now, you're not the person they lost. You're the person they lost out on. This isn't a trophy for the taking. It's a reality they never saw coming. When others reminisce, they may recall your smile, your warmth, the way you once lit up a room. But that was only a preview of what was to come. Now, as you continue to evolve, you've rewritten your story entirely. They might wonder, how could you change so completely? Was that always there, hidden beneath the surface? The answer lies in the silent transformation that occurred when you stopped letting the past define you. You made a choice to refuse stagnation, to reject the notion that temporary heartbreak could dictate your future. And in doing so, you reclaimed your power, your peace, and your potential. At times, doubts might creep in, even for you. The journey of transformation is rarely a straight path. There might be moments in the quiet hours when you question if you're strong enough, if you truly deserve the new life you're building. Remember the words, "I rise in silence, I build in the dark." They aren't just a mantra, they're a testament to the fact that growth often happens away from the spotlight, in those moments when no one is watching. When the world expects you to crumble, you choose to evolve instead. Your transformation isn't a performance for anyone's approval. It's a private revolution that redefines who you are at the very core. Think of the caterpillar that endures the dark cocoon before emerging as a butterfly. The metamorphosis isn't visible to the world until the final breathtaking moment of emergence. Similarly, your inner work, your silent evolution, is a process that transforms you into someone unbound by the past. You no longer remain that person defined by a painful goodbye. You become the architect of a future that stands in stark contrast to what was once expected of you. This isn't about proving anything to those who left. It's about proving to yourself that you are worth every ounce of effort, every moment of solitude, and every drop of determination. In the silence of your transformation, there is a power that speaks louder than words. It echoes in the way you carry yourself, in the confidence that radiates from every step you take. They might try to reach out, testing the boundaries of your new reality with a simple message or a longing inquiry. But you know that true transformation is not meant for validation from those who failed to appreciate your worth. Instead, your silence, and the profound change it represents, serves as a beacon for those who understand that moving forward is not about erasing the past, but about building a future where your value is unquestionable. So, if you're ready to embrace this path of relentless growth, if you're done being defined by what once was, now is the time to step fully into the power of your transformation. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another reminder of the strength that lies within. And as you move forward, remember to share your journey. Leave a comment with the affirmation, "I rise in silence, I build in the dark," and let that serve as a daily reminder that your evolution is unstoppable. 6. Turn the tables, the reverse chase. They thought they had all the power, assuming you'd always be there, lingering in the background, ready to pivot at a moment's notice when they needed reassurance. But now, something extraordinary is happening. The roles are reversing, and the very thing they once avoided has become the burning obsession they can't shake. It's basic human psychology. Humans crave what they can't have. The minute you remove yourself from the equation, when you stop seeking, stop waiting, and stop reacting, you ignite something deep within their subconscious. As the old adage goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yet in this case, your absence creates a vacuum that forces them to confront the undeniable truth. Scarcity creates value. Think of it like a rare vintage car. When it's parked in a showroom, always available to be admired, its uniqueness is taken for granted. But the moment that car is seen cruising down a lonely highway, its rarity and its allure suddenly skyrocket. Your absence works the same way. When you remove yourself from their everyday life, you become that rare gem they never knew they truly valued until it was nearly impossible to attain. They start to wonder, is it really true that what I took for granted is now out of reach? You might be asking yourself, is it truly that simple? Does stepping back really flip the script so completely? The answer is a resounding yes. When you choose not to chase, you send a clear message. You are not here to be an option, but the ultimate prize. They might try to test the waters with a casual like, a brief comment, or a random message, small signals attempting to see if the door is still ajar. But understand this, it isn't about love or longing. It's about control and self-respect. If they genuinely wanted you, there would be no need for these tentative tests. They wouldn't be fishing for scraps of your attention. Their probing is not a testament to your worth. It's a confession of their own insecurity. As soon as you stop being readily available, you force them to face an uncomfortable truth. The control they once believed they had over your emotions has evaporated. They now must confront the reality that every moment you're not chasing them only amplifies your value. What did I do to lose someone so unshakable, they may ask themselves. But the real question remains, could they ever truly appreciate what they had before it was gone? The answer lies in the unmistakable shift that occurs when you transform from a constant presence into an elusive treasure. Your disappearance is not an act of indifference. It is a powerful declaration of independence. It's like watching the tide recede from the shore. When the water pulls back, the beach is revealed in all its beauty, stark and undeniable. In that exposed emptiness, they begin to question everything they once assumed. They ponder if they ever truly valued you or merely took you for granted. The silent transformation in your behavior forces them to ask, "Have I been chasing a ghost, all the while blind to the real worth of what I had?" This process isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your inherent value. Every moment you refuse to respond to a test, every second you hold your ground, you reinforce the truth that you are not defined by their need for validation. You are defined by the quiet strength of your conviction, by your steadfast refusal to compromise your self-worth. As you withdraw, you don't lose yourself. Instead, you become more magnetic, more desirable. The simple act of stepping back creates a void that makes them realize you are irreplaceable, something they never had the foresight to truly appreciate until now. Imagine a master painter who steps back from a nearly completed canvas. Only when they take that distance do the intricate details, the bold strokes, and the vibrant colors coalesce into a breathtaking masterpiece. Your absence works in much the same way. It allows your true colors to shine and forces them to see what they've lost. The shift is subtle at first, like the gradual lifting of a fog, but soon it becomes an undeniable clarity. They are left to confront the reality that you are no longer an option to be taken lightly, but the ultimate standard against which all else is measured. And so, as you embody this reverse chase, remember that your worth is not diminished by stepping away. On the contrary, every moment of self-restraint builds your value. Your silence is not a void, it is a declaration, a bold statement that you are here on your own terms. If you're done running after those who fail to see your true worth, if you're ready to stand as the prize rather than the pursuer, then now is the time to embrace that power. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another insight into the art of self-respect and empowerment. And let your voice be heard. Leave a comment affirming, "I do not chase, I attract what is meant for me." Let that be your reminder each day that true power lies not in the pursuit, but in the mastery of your own destiny. 7. Silence isn't a strategy. It's who you are. They assumed your silence was just a tactic, a temporary move, a calculated play. They believed you were using it to get a reaction that eventually you'd break, give in to the urge to check in, reach out, prove that they still had some kind of hold on you. But what they don't understand is this: silence isn't a game. It's not a phase. It's not something you do. It's something you become. A person who truly values themselves does not leave doors cracked open for those who chose to walk away. They don't wait for breadcrumbs, don't sit around hoping for closure, for validation, for a moment of weakness to justify holding on. They walk away, not to make a point, not to trigger regret, but because they understand one undeniable truth. The past is the past, and anything that belongs there has no place in their future. This is where most people fail. They go silent, but with expectation. They think that if they stay quiet long enough, if they resist reaching out, the other person will come back. And maybe they will. But the real power move? It's when you no longer care if they do. When silence is no longer a temporary measure, but a permanent standard. When it stops being about them and starts being about you. Because here's the shift. when you remove expectation, when you stop seeing silence as a strategy and start seeing it as a boundary, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop thinking of them at all. And that's when the transformation happens. Not when they notice your absence, but when you realize it doesn't matter if they do. The moment you reach that place is the moment you become truly untouchable. No contact isn't about making them miss you. It isn't about proving a point. It isn't about hoping for a reaction. It is a declaration, a clear, unwavering statement that you will never again beg for someone who failed to see your worth. And that, more than anything, is what breaks them. Not the silence itself, but the realization that the silence is permanent, that they are no longer a factor in your life, that you are not coming back, not now, not ever. They thought this was temporary, but you've already moved on. 8. Doors that close stay closed. At some point, the silence gets to them. The absence becomes too loud, the void too undeniable. Suddenly they start looking for a way back in. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Maybe it's a random like on an old photo, a breadcrumb meant to test the waters. Or maybe, just maybe, they go all in, sending a long apology, confessing they've been thinking about you, that they miss what you had. And this is where most people fail. Because they see the return as a victory. They think, "I won. My silence worked. Now I can finally have them back." But here's the real question. Do you even want them back? Think about it. If they left, if they walked away, if they made the conscious decision that life was better without you, then why should they get a second chance now? Because they're lonely. Because they're realizing they made a mistake. Because they want to test if they still have access to you. A person who has mastered themselves does not allow their life to be a revolving door. They do not entertain those who only miss them when they see them thriving. They do not wait for someone who made it clear that they were an option, not a priority. And if they don't come back, even better, because that means the universe just confirmed what you already knew. They were never meant to stand beside the person you are becoming. Either way, the outcome is the same. You win. Whether they regret it or not, whether they try to come back or disappear for good, it makes no difference. Because by the time they realize what they lost, you will be so far ahead, so evolved, so deeply invested in your own growth, that their absence won't even register. Imagine a bridge burned to ash, one that no longer leads anywhere worth visiting. Would you try to rebuild it, knowing it collapsed once before? Or would you keep moving forward toward places untouched by past mistakes? The answer is obvious. There is no going back to what once was, only forward toward what will be. They thought they had a way back in, but you've already closed the door. 9. The only move that matters, living so well that nothing else does. At the end of the day, the goal was never to make them regret leaving. It was never about making them miss you, never about reversing the roles, never about proving a point. The real goal, the only goal, was to become so focused on your own life, your own success, your own happiness, that none of it matters anymore. This is the highest level of power, not caring whether they regret it or not needing closure, not seeking revenge, not waiting for them to wake up and realize what they lost. Because by the time they do, you will be so far ahead, so deeply invested in the person you've become, that even if they begged to come back, you wouldn't even flinch. This is the moment of freedom, the moment where you step into a reality where you are the prize, where your purpose is your mission, and no one, not them, not anyone, can shake your foundation. You stop replaying the past, Stop carrying the weight of old memories. Stop giving energy to things that no longer serve you. Instead, you start building. You start creating. You start traveling, growing, expanding. Your focus shifts entirely from what was to what will be. And that shift, that's when you realize you were never losing anything. You were gaining everything. Ask yourself, why should you care whether they realize what they lost? What difference does it make? The truth is, whether they wake up one day and regret their decision or they disappear forever, it changes nothing for you. Because your success is no longer tied to their acknowledgement. Your peace is no longer dependent on their absence or presence. You have risen beyond it. You have reached a point where their validation is meaningless, where their regret holds no weight, where their return would feel like a distant echo of a life you no longer even recognize. And that is the final move. Not proving a point, not winning them back, not waiting for karma to do its work, but becoming so fulfilled, so whole, so untouchable that the past simply fades into nothing. You wake up one day and realize that the person they left behind doesn't even exist anymore, that you have evolved into something far greater, far stronger, that even if they never understand what they lost, you know what you gained. This is what true power looks like. A person who controls themselves, who controls their emotions, who controls their own destiny. A person who does not look back, who does not wait, who does not chase. A person who understands that loss is never the end. It is simply an invitation to rise higher than ever before. And that's exactly what you did. You mastered yourself. You built your foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. You reached a level of strength where their presence, their absence, their regret, it all became irrelevant. They thought you'd beg. They thought you'd suffer. They thought you'd spend your days waiting for the moment they might change their mind. But instead, you disappeared. You built. You thrived. And now, you are untouchable. This is where you claim your power. This is where you take back control. If you're ready to step into the life that was always meant for you, to embrace the strength that was always within you, then now is the time. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, your silence is your power. Your growth is your victory. And your future? It's waiting.